Double Dragon is a 1987 beat-em-up video game developed by Technos Japan and distributed by Taito. The game was developed by Yoshihisa Kishimoto, and it is a spiritual and technological successor to Techno's earlier beat-em-up Renegade, which was released the previous year. Double Dragon introduced several additions to the Renegade belt-scroll beat-em-up formula, such as continuous side-scrolling worlds adding a sense of progression, two-player cooperative gameplay, and the ability to arm oneself with an enemy's weapon after disarming them. The title is an indication of its simultaneous two-player action and also an homage to the Bruce Lee film Enter the Dragon. The players take control of Billy Lee, or his palette-swapped brother Jimmy, as they battle their way through the Black Warriors gang turfland in an attempt to rescue Billy's bird, Marion. Bill and Jim each have the same set of moves as you would expect, as they are just palette-swapped characters. The game story hides this fact by saying they are in fact twins. Anyway, the player controls Billy or Jimmy by using the joystick to guide them around, and moves are pulled off by pressing either the punch or kick button and or combinations of punch, kick and jump. In two-player mode, one of the player-controlled characters can grab an opponent from behind, and this allows the other player to attack unimpeded. But in one-player mode, this is not possible. But the enemies can do the same thing to you, so be careful. Billy and Jimmy both have life bars at the bottom of the screen. If all the blocks disappear, you lose a life. Each level is also timed. Failure to complete the level in the allotted time results in a lost life also. Some enemies carry weapons such as knives, whips or baseball bats. These can do a lot of damage to Billy and Jimmy, but thankfully you can knock the weapon out of the opponent and use it yourself. Other weapons can be found lying around, like oil drums, boulders and crates. In two-player mode, if you make it to the end of the game, which is only 4 levels long, you face off against the main villain that kidnapped your beloved Marion. Once he is dealt with, Billy and Jimmy then face off in a fight to the death to win the fair hand of Marion. This ending is seriously messed up. If Jimmy beats Billy, then Marion overcomes her grief at losing her lover by then shacking up with the bloke that killed him? That is just too weird, man. Double Dragon was one of the first successful beat-em-up games, becoming Japan's third highest grossing table arcade game of 1987 before becoming America's highest grossing dedicated arcade game for 2 years in a row in 1988 and 1989. It also received critical acclaim, with Electronic Gaming Monthly awarding it 1988 Game of the Year. And for the love of God, I have no idea why. Double Dragon is a game I hate, if I'm being totally honest with you. The concept was great. Create a 2-player scrolling beat 'em up that expanded on the play mechanics of Renegade, but it failed on so many levels. First off, in my opinion, the experience of playing Double Dragon was ruined by a few simple factors, the first of which was the scrolling. Why does the screen only scroll when you are almost at the far right hand side of the screen? This leaves the player blind, in some respect, to walk into enemy characters and receive a right doing. Secondly, the fight mechanics are not as good as those in Renegade. Some enemies just seem to be able to throw you about from left to right several times without the ability to return volley. This can result in a cheap death. The third reason why I hate this game is the controls. I just found them at times to be unresponsive. Now, I'm not sure if this was a result of the arcade cabinets I would play having the buttons battered to death or not, but even at home on emulation and on the Mister, I find it to be the same. The bridge jump in level 3 is an easy opportunity to lose several lives. People wax lyrical about the graphics in this game. The original arcade version displayed 384 colours on the screen, out of a 4096 colour palette. And to be fair, for the time, the graphics were pretty decent. But I always hated the look of the game. The overstretched nature of Billy and Jimmy. The way they walked. It was like they were trying to keep a turtle seed in at times. The hardware used several 8-bit microprocessors running in parallel, along with the multiple Hitachi HD6 309 based processors. And all of this couldn't stop the worst thing about Double Dragon, and that was the slowdown. It was bad enough on one player, but on two player it was horrendous, and for me, totally ruined the flow of the game and made it unplayable. It seems the hardware of the time was not able to fully realise the ambitions of Technos Japan. I realise I am in a minority here. Millions of gamers around the world have fond memories of Double Dragon, but I am merely expressing an opinion here. My opinions aside, due to the game's success, arcades all over the place in the UK would end up with 3 or 4 Double Dragon cabinets in each location. Probably the first time that ever happened. Even stalwarts like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong didn't require the need for multiple cabinets. Each time I would see Double Dragon in an arcade, there was usually a crowd around it, and a queue as well. This success led to the game being ported over to just about every home system imaginable at the time, and for once, this was a game I was not interested in buying. So why is a Master System included in this video? Well, that is a good question. When I was dropping subtle hints to my parents to get me a Sega Master System for Christmas 1988, a schoolmate of mine did get a Master System for Christmas that year, and one of the games he got was Double Dragon. Keen to see what the Master System was like, I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity to try the thing, even if it meant playing a game I hated. But I was pleasantly surprised. Don't get me wrong, Double Dragon on a Master System is still not this amazing game or anything, but for the humble 8-bit machine it was good. In fact, I would go so far as to say it was better than the arcade. The issues with the screen scroll were resolved by Sega. The screen now had the anchor point in the middle, and thus allowed for a more open view of the action. The sprites were smaller, but this was going to be a common theme in all Master System games, and the sound was passable. In terms of playability though, this was miles better than the arcade. The slowdown was still present in small sections, and there was an awful lot of screen flicker. But home ports at the time were not going to be able to produce an accurate version of these new late 80s style games. Each port should be viewed more as a caricature of the game, more of an homage than a reproduction. Anyway, after playing Double Dragon at my mate's house, I knew I had to have a Sega Master System, and that was in spite of playing Double Dragon on it. Its success in the arcades resulted in the creation of the Double Dragon franchise, including 2 arcade sequels and several spin-offs, and it ushered in a golden age for the beat-em-up genre, establishing the conventions for a wave of beat-em-ups from other companies during the late 1980s to 1990s, all of which were able to do the genre a whole lot better than its creators. Technos Japan do deserve credit. As I often say, the first one over the trench always gets bloodied, and this was true here. Technos had stumbled upon a real gem of a game in Renegade, but they were a bit too ambitious. I guess the desire to rush and be the first to market was overwhelming, when what they should have done was waited till the technology could handle the ambitions of the creator. Double Dragon, regardless of my opinion, has spread its DNA in each and every scrolling beat-em-up that followed. The girlfriend plot was done to the death, and was pretty much the story behind each and every beat-em-up. The combat mechanics were refined by the likes of Sega, Konami, SNK and Capcom, who would then go on to produce games that would leave Double Dragon in their wake. Some of Sega's and Capcom's greatest successes owe much of that success to Double Dragon. If only Technos Japan had patented the genre, they could have got fat off of all the royalties from Capcom and SNK. In closing, in my opinion, Double Dragon was a vastly overrated game. But the real legacy of Double Dragon is the impact it had on video games, and that should not be understated. Double Dragon was a BlackBerry phone before the iPhone. It was a portable cassette player before the Walkman. It was the cheeky penalty before the Panenka. That's all from me, folks. If you like this video, then please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching.